Dr. Edith Eger, a Holocaust survivor, author, and psychologist, describes a disturbing phenomenon. In her book The Choice, she details the way in which many Holocaust survivors, liberated from the death camps, did not leave to seek out their own freedom, but remained in the camps. This, she explains, was a learned helplessness, an inbred feeling of imprisonment that could only come from years of torture, suffering, and oppression, which ultimately lasted long after the gates of the death camps were filled. In the weeks following my father's passing, I've reflected on this phenomenon and have identified with the way in which years of suffering have hewn trauma, pain, and confusion into my life and those of my families. There are indeed no more emergency calls to be made, and yet my hand still lingers close by my cell phone, illogically waiting for a call which has already come. And yet, amongst these irrational feelings, what has been most jarring has not been the confusion, the sadness, or the anger, but the reflection that for the past few years, even until the very last moments of my father's life, there were enjoyable, unique moments, times of happiness within a wellspring of tragedy. In truth, it's this dichotomy which I struggle with immensely, and I guess it boils down to a somewhat philosophical question. And that is, what is Hashem trying to show us by placing joyous moments within all this pain? Superficially, this feels wrong, as if the good has no place amongst the bad. I get that this is a question that I'll never truly know the answer to, but I owe it to myself and to others to at least try and find an answer. The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Kuf Tes Zayin, gives two opinions for eating charoses at the Seder, which are both incorporated into the meaning behind this feature of the Seder plate. One opinion states that it's a zeicher letit, a remembrance of the bricks used, of the mortar used to build bricks as slaves in Egypt. Yet another opinion states it's a zeicher letapuach, a remembrance of the miraculous way in which the Jewish woman in Egypt bore children under the fruit trees without pain. How can one item represent two contrasting ideas on completely opposite sides of the emotional spectrum? Rabbi Aryeh Leibovitz explains that sometimes freedom is not defined by where we are, but by which direction we're facing, by where we are heading in life. In truth, the whole Seder night carries forth this central idea. We start with halach ma'anya, this is the bread of affliction, and we emphasize the fact that we are now free people. Even though in truth we're not yet truly free, we are still in galus, we are still in exile. Nevertheless, we still celebrate. We appreciate the fact that we are on our way out of galus, out of exile, that Hashem has shown us enough of His guiding hand that we know, even if we haven't reached ultimate salvation, that we're headed in that direction. This is the message behind the charoses. It symbolizes the fact that there will always be those good moments mixed in with the bad, giving us confidence that there will be a geula, a redemption, even if we are still in dire straits, in galus, in exile. As disturbing as the Holocaust was, it is again to this historic, terrible time to which we can turn to show us this lesson. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs once wrote that although a sense of humor keeps you sane, that was not enough in Auschwitz to keep you alive. After having published this fact, a Holocaust survivor approached him with the following story. He explained that once he had entered Auschwitz, he realized that if he failed to keep his spirits up, he would die. So he made a deal with another person, that they would both look out each day for one occurrence that they found amusing, in Auschwitz of all places. At the end of each day, they would tell each other that amusing moment that they found, and they would laugh together. He told Rabbi Jonathan Sachs that sense of humor saved his life. The charoses, of all things, teaches us this lesson. It shows us that no matter how harsh or extreme our circumstances, there will always be good times. Sparks of joy amongst tragedy are Hashem's way of showing us that things will change, that there is always hope, that there will always be enough happiness in the world to keep us going. Wishing you all a Chag Kosher v'Sameach, a good Yom Tov.